So in the last video, I talked about how there needs to be rewards for playing Star Citizen. They needn't be certain types of rewards, but there has to be a reason, a motivation for playing Star Citizen in its current state. Playing Star Citizen is important. 3.18 is a perfect example of why we need as many people playing Star Citizen as possible. When the PTU comes out and they're like, wave 1, wave 2. No, it should be wave everyone. Everyone should be on it, because this just exposed the weakness of that system of only letting a certain amount of players in to test the patch. The game needs to be constantly flooded with players to test the reliability of the back-end systems to handle the amount of players that you're trying to get into this universe concurrently. We need this. We can't fake it. We need people playing the game and doing all the oddball, crazy crap that players do to test every random thing, to find all the bugs, all the holes that we need to plug. We need players out there killing each other, ganking each other. We need players exploiting the economy and finding all the loopholes where all of a sudden, someone in a cutlass can be a billionaire overnight. We need to know how all this works, and we need to find all the holes in the game. And in order to do that, we need to bring all of the brain power of the Star Citizen community into the game. And we need them to have a reason to do that, because testing for testing's sake is boring as ass. It is just absolutely horrible. It's like, well, I'll try it this way, no, I'll try it that way. There are certain people on the spectrum who love that sort of thing, but for most, it's just like, okay, yeah, no, we had some fun. We had a great group of guys together. Boom, 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 boom. We blew up some ships. We had a good time. But I want to go and work on this in this game, or I want to go work on that in the other game. There needs to be a motivation. And this is, unfortunately, one of the most concerning parts about Star Citizen is, what is the point of, what are you going towards? The obvious answer that people will throw out there almost immediately is ships. No. Ships aren't what you're after. They can't be. For one reason, many of the people watching this video, if I were to say, okay, so do you have your fleet more or less sorted out? And they'll be like, yeah. I have my industrial ship, I have my big combat ship, I have my little combat ship, and I have my just screwing around on my own ship. Most people have some variation of that. And let's be honest. Now, to varying degrees, every gamer is a bit of a degenerate. And, say, oh no, I only play video games like an hour a week, and the rest of the time is spent, doing, work from home stuff and, doing chores around the house. It's only us here in this room right now. You spent 8 hours this week doing, trying to get something to drop from some boss in some game or something. Yeah, you spend way too many hours farming for that mount. You know what you did. It's us. You ain't gotta lie. If we were to walk into the Star Citizen universe today, and I was able to just go in and flick a switch and say, from now on, whatever ship you buy in the game, you own it. And not only that, I'm actually going to turn on all the ships that you can't buy in the game and say, even though you won't own it now, when it does come in the PU, you will own it then. If I was to flick that switch right now, you would probably, within a year, will be reasonable, because you might have other responsibilities or other interests beyond that. But within a year, chances are you would own everything that you want in the Star Citizen universe. After that, what's the point? So ships aren't the point. What are we going after? Well, it's the intrigue of, player conflict and politics and all of that. Probably not. Because even in a game like EVE Online, where you say, oh, they have alliances and they have backstabbing and they have open world PvP where you can keep some of the loot and you can do this and you can do that to each other and it's intriguing. The vast majority of people who play EVE Online, at least when I was playing the game, were doing what was at the time, and now we're talking years ago now. For anyone who's currently playing EVE or has played EVE recently, I left during Red Moon Rising or just after, but the majority of people were just in Empire doing high level missions, and that's how they kind of made their fortunes in the game, and that's what they did. So, like, the player interactivity and all this, I mean, to a small degree, there's a certain slice of that universe, but if you were to count only on that single small slice as it exists in the EVE Online universe and then extrapolate that to Star Citizen, you have nothing. You're going to have very, very few people of note doing anything that anyone cares about. Everyone else is going to be head down doing their own thing. And most of that's going to happen. They won't even be conscious of it. So what are we pursuing in Star Citizen? In a more structured MMO world, you often have expansions that come along. And they say, oh, this time it's this is the bad dragon. And we all have to get together and fight a series of challenges over 1 or 2 years. And then finally we kill the bad dragon, and then just as the bad dragon dies, the new bad guy shows up, and he's like, ha, ha, ha. And we're like, oh no, the world's gonna end again, dun dun dun. And then the next expansion drops, and then we fight that guy, and then just before he dies, we get the hint of the new bad guy, da, 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 and the cycle continues on and on and on. And that can be sometimes good when it's well written. When it's not so well written, I can tell you it's quite bad and irritating. One of the areas that I find just that really doesn't get explored by game developers enough, because it's kind of a mystery, is what happens when, instead of trying to create a structured reward system, or like, this is the end game, everybody goes, they get the achievement for killing this boss, and everyone goes yay, and then we wait for the next expansion to drop. What if we look at it more in the case of a sandbox style MMO? If we look at games like Rust, or games like Conan Exiles, or games like Scum, survival games, and certainly there is some survival inspiration in Star Citizen, some good, some very bad, but one of the primary things that you do in those games is you go around the universe exploring, finding the bits and pieces that you need to build a life in Star Citizen. And oftentimes building that life, building that infrastructure to support yourself as you adventure through the universe is done through building a base, or building a base with a group of players, like-minded individuals like yourself, who use that as a springboard when it has certain capabilities to give you better access to the things that you want to do in that region. Now, here's the part where you might be getting all excited or critical. And you might be thinking, well, that's a dumb idea because, well, base building in Star Citizen would require CIG to set apart so much resources in order to kind of get that into the game. I mean, yeah, they've been showing us they've been making basic structures. And yeah, I suppose we could have a medium construction ship sail and people could just go and feed resources into it and use it to build a base. But there's a lot happening under the hood, not just visually, but under the hood, to kind of make something like that happen. And so even though 100%, there would be a lot of people out there who would be like, yes, please, times 1,000, can we do this now? The truth of it is this is something that is going to be much, much further down the line. And so while it might be a very good, interesting, rewarding end game loop for some players, and myself included, it's not something that we can do right now. What we have to figure out right now is that core rewarding gameplay loop. That thing that gives us a feeling of having accomplished something, of having a goal to pursue. That is one of the most critical things, because there are going to be good patches and there are going to be bad patches. But if you want players to stick with you through the wipes, through the crashes, through the denial of service, through all of these things, you better figure out what that core reward system is. And I'm not talking about engineering like they have in Elite Dangerous or anything like that. In fact, engineering from Elite Dangerous I would consider to be a great way to make people not want to play your game. But we better figure out what that is. We better figure out what the reason is, because a lot of the people who are watching this video or who are just out there playing Star Citizen already own all of the ships that they want to get in the Star Citizen universe. We've been here for a decade, and we've certainly funded the hell out of this game. And as a consequence of that, we own most of the ships in this game. We got to figure out a way to reward players for playing the game and make them feel like they're accomplishing something and going somewhere, so that we can count on the players to be here on a regular basis to engage with the game, so that we can find all the bugs and actually, in the end, make the real game.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.